Oh, I remember debating this guy. He was almost on a Bridges episode. Oh, no. He's going to say whatever he can to carry as much water for Trump as possible, and DOGE and everything else.
Elon Musk the right to have access to the federal payment system of the Treasury Department.
President Trump won a historic victory. He's allowed to put...
It wasn't that big of a victory. Did Donald Trump give Elon Musk...
Yes or no? Did he win yes
or
no?
He won, of course.
Okay, good.
Yeah, at least, well, I'm able to admit that. I don't know about your side.
Wait, who's the guy filming right now? We recognize his voice, right? Do we?
But let me ask you this, James. James, did Donald Trump give Elon Musk permission to send people into the Treasury Department to get access to the federal payment system? Yes or no?
My understanding is that the people of this country want to know what is happening with taxpayer money.
That's not an answer to the question.
What do you mean? It's all public? Aren't all the allocations public information? Like, you can see how much Congress is allocating to public, like to USAID. Maybe not like line by line by line, but...
Single person in this country.
Wasn't this the smug guy that was in the Circle Jerk Jubilee episode? Yes.
Deserves to know how their taxpayer.
So James, you're a spokesperson for DOGE, and you can't.
Spokesperson for DOGE.
Or you're a spokesperson for Elon Musk.
Look, Katie Miller speaks for DOGE in an external in a formal capacity.
But you work for DOGE.
I am an advisor to DOGE. I was there with Vivek Ramaswamy.
Destiny, USAID line by line was publicly accessible before Trump got in office. What was it?
He stepped aside to run for governor of Ohio. He's going to do a great job at that.
So are you with DOGE or are you not with DOGE?
I'm here to answer your questions about what's happening here. Taxpayers want answers.
But I asked the question, who gave Elon Musk access to the federal payment system?
Single moms have questions about how their taxpayer
All right, so you can't answer.
Did you say single moms?
Access to the federal payment system.
Single moms have questions about how their taxpayer
All right, so you can't answer.
Okay. Just for fun, here's a tweet from the Epic Scroll guy. How do I open PDF? Well, Tech Bros explained to me how the cracked Doge kids are super duper smart for ending the direct file system. Other LLMs made specifically for parsing things like documents, forms, PDFs, JSON, HTML, Excel, etc., and converting them from one format to another. Well, is this necessarily a bad question? I don't know. Is it? I don't know how any of these things work. It might be that like an LLM only, or certain types only want specifically formatted files or aren't capable of parsing. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. There are programs that do that for you. You don't need an LLM for that. Okay, I have no idea. Don't know. The average age of the signers of the Declaration of Independence were 44 years old. Nice. Destiny. Would a Luigi emote be too much? Absolutely. I think we'd get banned for that one. How can a son say he's not a colonizer when he's manifesting destiny everywhere? Good one. Oh, Jesus. I can't tell if this is you guys posting or the Hassan playbook. Everything I don't like is destiny. A book for basic dickheads. This engine is destiny. Nice. Jason, the USAID database was public until your buddy Elon and the current admin took it offline. Publish the USAID database. Pause all payments for 100 days. Every single transaction under the microscope. Let the Daily Wire, New York Times, and everyone in between into the offices to see where the money has been flowing. The country's on the brink of insolvency. What? Sunlight on all spending until the budget is balanced. Okay.
Regardless of
is this what we already watched?
Hypothetical reality where Kamala Harris...
Thanks, Finn Visor. I love you, buddy. Would you rather have Trump or Hassan as president if you had to pick one? Don't make me do that. Don't make me do that. Destiny, I saw a report that only some of the DOGE employees accessing the USAID classified documents lacked security clearance. If you access a building and only some of your group lack the clearance, can none of you access the info? I seriously doubt that anybody... Link me the report. I doubt any of them had the clearance to access that information. EPA spending freeze continues despite court orders. Based, okay. Elon meme posted by Kolensky. I use private server for email. I'm extracting every single personal info into my private server. Yeah, they never cared about this. Don't forget that. They never cared about the private server shit. That was always a fucking meme. USAID security leaders removed after refusing Elon Musk's DOGE employees access to secure systems. The USAID systems the DOGE team tried to access included personnel files and security systems, including classified systems beyond the security level of at least some of the DOGE employees, according to 3 of the sources. The systems also included security clearance information for agency employees, 2 other sources said. So in the United States, all classified stuff is need to know. Just because, like, you could have a TS, like a top secret clearance, but that doesn't mean that you just get to read every single secret, top secret document in the US government. That's not how that works. So even if you have a, like, Like, you know how like in movies, they're like, this is a classified area. You're like, oh, I'm top secret classified. It's like, oh, okay, fuck, you're allowed in. That's not how that works. Like all of it is done on need to know. That's what I think. That's what SCI stands for, is secured compartmentalized information. What does SCI stand for? Oh, sensitive compartmented information. My bad. Nonprofits and state agencies still elect access Monday to EPA grant awards funded through the Inflation Reduction Act. Nice. 2 district court judges have issued orders to reverse such spending freezes, with U.S. District Judge Lauren Ali Khan reinforcing her order Monday. That quote, sorry. It appears that OMB sought to overcome a judicially imposed obstacle without actually ceasing the challenged conduct. The court can think of few things more disingenuous, wrote the judge. What is your understanding of the heritability of intelligence? Heritability, I think for IQ, is supposed to be like 0.6 to 0.7 or something, I think. Or 0.4 to 0.8? I don't remember. I've seen big ranges given for that. Zealand Hoover, former director of implementation at Biden's EPA, said the Trump admin appeared to be trying to dodge the temporary restraining order. I'm very concerned that this illegal action will force state and local governments to pause construction, lay off staff, and slow their work to provide cleaner air and water. It looks like this executive is considering just completely flouting a court's direct order. Nice. Trying to DOGE the restraining order. True. Are you so much smarter than your parents? I don't know if I'm so much smarter than my parents. I think my mom and dad are, I think both, my mom graduated from college. They both worked on electronics in the Air Force. They're probably decently intelligent, I would imagine. Oh, we're leaving the Human Rights Council. People keep saying we're giving up our veto. That's not the UN Security Council. That's just the Human Rights Council. But
we have an executive order prepared for your attention that would withdraw the United States from the UN Human Rights Council, would withdraw the United States from the UNRWA, which is a refugee organization, and would also review American involvement in UNESCO. We have an executive order.
Okay. Realistically, are we screwed? Do you think we'll be able to get Musk out of the government? I don't know. All you can do is call it out and hope people notice, I guess.
Appear to have a three-way tie. I have no choice but to pick the Hey King myself. I pick me. I am your Hey King. All hail your Hey King!
My girlfriend is doing a PhD and got some of their research grants paused this morning, including one from the military. Okay. Who's going to enforce these court orders? Nobody can enforce a court order. That's the president's job. So, good luck. Or, I mean, like, the job of enforcing stuff from the courts is the executive, so. Breaking, New York Times. The CIA sent the Trump White House an unclassified email listing, an unclassified email listing all employees hired by the spy agency over the last 2 years to comply with an executive order to shrink the federal workforce, in a move that former officials say risked the list leaking to adversaries. An unclassified email. Jeez. I mean, you can retroactively classify it, but... The list included first names and the first initial of the last name of the new hires who are still on probation and less easy to dismiss, and included a large crop of young analysts and operatives who are hired specifically to focus on China, and whose identities are usually closely guarded because Chinese hackers are constantly seeking to ID them. The agency normally would prefer not to put these names in an unclassified system. Some former officials said they worried that the list could be passed on to a team of newly hired young software experts working with Elon Musk and his government efficiency team. If that happened, the names of the employees might be more easily targeted by China, Russia, or other foreign intelligence services. Bro, 2026 and 2028 are going to be wild. I can never take a conservative complaining about literally anything ever again. Destiny, I just fell for this. Unclassified just means that it's low impact. Declassified means it's with sensitive information revealed. Wait, fell for what? What do you mean? What did you fall for? Ban that person, they were a Chinese spy. True. Asmongold just got you in 4K.
Planned, and it's literally just Destiny's community. I don't know if it's Destiny's community or not. I'm sure it's some of them. I think that Destiny's community should focus more about, you know, him being on the sex offender list potentially, instead of me saying something that's taken out of context. You know, that's just, you know, what I don't know. Maybe seems like a more important thing. But yeah, there you go. Planned, and
we'll see if I ever end up on that list. But also, Donald Trump is literally civilly liable for rape. So I don't even know why you would even make that comparison, but okay. Good one, Chief. This is more Trump is sending EO to withdraw the U.S. from this. Does Rocket Money impersonate you? Why did I open this? I tried the app to see the subscriptions, which was cool, I guess. They tried to negotiate bills with two companies. Both of them called me and said someone was claiming to be me. My cell company ended up putting me in a three-way call with someone who said he was my brother and was negotiating my bill that we agreed on at the dinner table. Nice. But also, what would you expect to do? If this is a thing trying to save you money and renegotiate shit, they probably would claim it's you or something, right? On the show today, President Trump's transformative plans for Gaza let him cook. Jesus Christ.
Folks, let Donald J. Trump cook. So, last night, President Trump gave a press conference, an absolutely stunning, groundbreaking, timeline-changing press conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in which he announced his plan for the day after in the Gaza Strip. And people are going absolutely insane over this plan in the Gaza Strip. Now, before we get to what exactly that plan is, the first thing that we have to...
Hold on, before we get to this stupid shit. Me making fun of your crop rotation idea and thereby holding our people back another 5,000 years. Jeff thinks the beans have to take turns LeMayo. Wait, this must be a troll post, right? Crop rotation is important. I think because, I don't know why actually, but if I had to guess, it's because different crops take different nutrients out of the soil, so you want to rotate them so the soil has time to fill its balls with its wonderful... That's the joke. Wait, me making fun of your crop rotation idea and thereby holding our... Jeff thinks the beans have to... Wait, what's the joke? Wait, so is she making fun of Jeff? Or does she agree with Jeff and she's making fun of people that would make fun of Jeff? She's saying people dumb things down that are real to poke fun at. Me making fun of your crop rotation idea and thereby holding our... Oh, wait. Hold on, I'm sorry. The structure of this first sentence was confusing me. It's me making fun of your crop rotation idea. Her making fun of the idea is what would hold people back 5,000 years. But I read this as me making fun of your crop rotation idea that would hold... That, like the crop rotation idea would hold people back another 5,000 years. Never mind, I understand it now. Okay. Republican voters, when they see literally any research grant, they don't understand. Okay. And he's retweeting this, not to say that she's being stupid, but to basically resonate with the joke she's making about people being stupid, basically, right? Okay. Okay. I got it. So like when people are tweeting out like, haha, they have a research grant to spend $50,000 on seatbelt pillows or something stupid. Why? Whose car alarm? Stop.
But I must confess, I wish I could debate some of these guys. I'd love to be on a debate stage going up against these guys with the presidency on the line.
Don't say that, because you know we will arrange that.
I'm half joking, but I kind of mean it. I mean, I have no desire to be a congressional figure or a senator.
What office? What's the lowest level office we could win just so I could debate? Oh my God.
Dead. It's
Scott,
dead.
is international law dead? I think Rula is right in suggesting that that's basically what Trump is suggesting. Forcibly removing Palestinians from their land is against international law.
I think we're being a little dramatic, and we're on our jump to conclusions, Matt, here a little bit. He muses occasionally.
Taking him at his word.
He muses occasionally.
Look, and just to be clear,
it's
because you're suggesting that we are making this up or
no, I'm not suggesting anything.
It.
No, you're putting words in my mouth.
Well,
I'm saying you and I both know he muses occasionally, and he's aspirational.
Like, how do you win against this? They have like the best defenses for everything. Hey, don't you think that like pardoning these violent people? I don't know anything about that. Well, like, what about the ones that committed crime? I don't know. I'd have to look into it. Okay. When Trump was saying this, I don't think he was serious. Okay, what about when he actually did the thing? That's just a negotiating tactic. He won't actually do it all the way. Okay. Okay, you win, I guess. You got it. You got it. Flawless victory.
He says provocative things
Scott,
occasionally.
I really don't want to interrupt you, but I just, for my own, I think I have to come to my own defense here in saying Donald Trump, with his own words, said this is what he wants to do. He wasn't musing. He was looking down at a piece of paper. I've been in a room with him, just like that, with foreign leaders, looking down at a piece of paper. He is reading a statement that was prepared for him. Those are not musings.
Well, Scott, what happened to America First? This is the guy who was supposed to take us out of the endless wars, said he's against nation building.
That's our boy Brad.
Railed against I am.
I know. playing the role of Catherine tonight. Brad.
I do want Scott.
Are you for the ethnic cleansing?
Wait, Catherine, that's our Jewish warrior that's usually on here, right?
I do want Scott.
Are you for the ethnic cleansing or against
Scott
it?
I don't know
not for it?
I don't know that I agree with the terminology you're using. Here's what I think.
Okay. Okay. You've identified a lot of problems, but you haven't done anything to combat this. Go on a show or something and use your solutions. Listen, if anyone want to debate me, these guys, ever since the assassination attempt, these guys have all been in lockdown mode, okay? Oh boy.
To understand is that all of the conventional wisdom, all of the State Department approved conventional wisdom for decades has led to full-scale disaster in the Middle East. It has led to an intractable, multi-decade problem of a radicalized Palestinian population that supports terrorism rather than any regime that would actually allow for peace, prosperity, and the building of a livable life. Hamas was elected by the Palestinian people. Today, by polling data, the Palestinian people still support Hamas after the complete destruction of the Gaza Strip, after and in response to Hamas killing 1,200 Israelis and taking 250 into captivity, where many of them were murdered, many of them were abused, and many of them still are, including American citizens. So, whatever the conventional wisdom says is wrong, and it has been wrong. And this is where President Trump has always had a different way of thinking about this. He's always had a different way of thinking about this. President Trump thinks outside the box. And what that has led to is more peace and prosperity in the region. People who think inside the box have led to some of the most intractable, most violent, worst conflicts in humanity. Donald Trump has thrown the conventional wisdom out, and what he has replaced it with is common sense understanding of reality and outside the box thinking, and the result was the Abraham Accords. If you look back to Trump term number one, perhaps the most stunning example of President Trump thinking differently was the Abraham Accords. Everybody said he was not going to be able to get any sort of deal done in the Middle East. Instead, he ended up with the first true Arab-Israeli peace deals in modern history. He didn't win
do the 90s not count as modern history, I guess, or?
The Nobel Prize for that because the left hates him too much. But that was all Nobel Prize worthy, and everyone knows it, including the left. Barack Obama won the Nobel Prize for existing. Donald Trump did not win the Nobel.
I still think the Abraham Peace Accords were just a concession to Israel so they'd stop annexing the West Bank, but okay, Chief.
Prize for a variety of peace agreements between Israel and its Arab neighbors. And if Donald Trump had been reelected in 2020, he was just weeks away from brokering a Saudi-Israeli Abraham Accord. That is because Donald Trump does not think inside the box. So
it's that these people are already friendly more or less to each other anyway. They all hate Iran, okay? It's like this isn't not like the fucking huge peace brokering that we need. This is not like the big issue that we have right now in the Middle East, but okay, Chief.
Here's what conventional wisdom says, and then we'll get to what exactly Donald Trump is proposing that is just exploding brains across the conventional wisdom spectrum. The conventional wisdom has said some of these following propositions with regard to Israel and the Palestinians, the Gaza Strip, Judea and Samaria. One, the way that you get to Middle Eastern peace is by solving the Palestinian problem first, by solving the intractable Palestinian issue first, and then peace blooms across the Middle East. This has been the going conventional wisdom for decades in the Middle East. And it was wrong. It was stupid. It is wrong. It has been stupid. Oslo was an ongoing process.
Okay.
The Oslo Accords, which were originally put forward in the early 1990s, have been ongoing for 3 decades, and they are one of the giant failures in the history of...
That's not really true. I feel like Oslo was dead in the Second Intifada. I don't even know if they consider it still ongoing. Unless he considers the Palestinian Authority, it means that the Oslo process is still ongoing, but okay.
Diplomacy. They've resulted in more death, more carnage, more destruction, less safety, and all-out war in the Middle East. President Trump threw out that conventional wisdom. What he said was, listen, we have an intractable problem over here. A deeply radicalized population that wants to completely destroy its neighbor. The Palestinian population has no interest in a quote-unquote two-state solution, living side by side in peace and prosperity. And so, if there's going to be peace in the Middle East, we are going to take that issue, we're going to put it to the side, and instead, we are going to look to the common security and economic interests of Israel and its other Arab neighbors. And the Abraham Accords was the result. Everyone said it couldn't be done. Everyone said it was stupid. Everybody said that it was backwards.
Who said? I don't think anybody was saying this. I don't think anybody cares that much if Israel is becoming more friendly with people that are already on their side of the Gulf. I don't think anybody cares that much. I don't think it was that big. Well, Republicans did when they constantly screamed, peace in the Middle East, 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 over and over again, but...
and wrong and unsophisticated and naive and not nuanced. And it turns out it was exactly right because Donald Trump took the conventional wisdom and he set it on fire. John Kerry.
We have a QA and anything else. It feels like some fans could use a brief moment to vent and figure out how to feel about recent things. Sure would be nice. Hopefully I have answers within a week, I guess. It's hard when other people have made moves that are backing other people in really uncomfortable corners, but I'm just waiting. Hopefully soonish we can chat about things, but...
Moron that he is. Historic dolt. Wrong about every single thing in his entire long, useless life. John Kerry, former secretary, moron that he is. And it turns out it was exactly right because Donald Trump took the conventional wisdom and he set it on fire. John Kerry, moron that he is. Historic dolt. Wrong about every single thing in his entire long, useless life. John Kerry, former secretary of state. He said that peace would never happen in the Middle East unless the Palestinian issue was put front and center. And he was proved wrong at every single turn. More conventional wisdom. The other countries in the Middle East deeply care about the establishment of a Palestinian state. This has supposedly been a top priority. Okay, all of history shows this is not true. When Egypt was in control of the Gaza Strip from 1948 to 1967, was there an independent Palestinian state? Of course, the answer is no. When Jordan was in control of Judea and Samaria from 1948 to 1967, was there an independent Palestinian state? No. Today, there could be an independent Palestinian state in Jordan, and the Hashemite dynasty says no.
What a retarded fucking set of... So it is true that initially they didn't give a fuck about the Palestinians. That's true, because they wanted to expand their own interests. However, post-73, post-67, regardless of whether or not you feel like initially the Arab states were bad actors or not, which they were insofar as guarding Palestinian interests, now the people do genuinely believe that, like, well, at the very least, they don't like the fact that Israel could control all the land. Jordan is not about to carve up their country. Considering the majority of Jordanians are already Palestinian, they're not about to carve up their country to make another country out of it. What an absurd statement, but...
Despite the fact that the vast majority of the population of Jordan actually is Palestinian. Not only are the surrounding Middle Eastern states uninterested in a Palestinian state, they don't want one because they know that it will be a terror haven. The big reason that so many Arab countries, Muslim countries in the region don't want to take in Palestinian refugees is because they are afraid it will destabilize their country, and they are right. It destabilized Jordan when the PLO was located there in the early 1970s is a terror haven. The big reason that so many Arab countries, Muslim countries in the region don't want to take in Palestinian refugees is because they are afraid it will destabilize their country, and they are right.
Yeah, because it would be taking in, one, you're taking in millions of people all of a sudden that now you have to figure out how to deal with. Two, if the Palestinian problem were ended and they were taken in by other countries, I don't know what that would mean for UNRWA funding. So it might be that all of that funding disappears. I don't know if there'd be some transition period or whatever. That would be a significant thing to figure. And three, your people, I don't know what the appetite is on the, what do they call it, the Arab street? I don't know politically if the regimes would be survivable if the people saw all of their Arab leaders basically turning their back on the Palestinians and Israel, saying like, okay, guys, we are just going to completely and totally give this up and completely and totally acquiesce to Jewish hegemony in the area. I don't know if the people would survive that, but it's hard to know people's opinions in the Middle East because they're not democracies. So, but
it destabilized Jordan when the PLO was located there in the early 1970s, leading to the full-scale expulsion of tens of thousands of Palestinians as well as the PLO. Lebanon, which used to be a Christian state, was completely overrun by the PLO and turned into a hellhole. There are Syrian refugee camps that still contain Palestinians because no matter how hellish Syria is, whoever has been in charge there, whether it's Assad or now whether it's HTS, they're not particularly interested in fighting another front war with a radicalized Palestinian population. In the aftermath of the Gulf War, Kuwait expelled tens of thousands of Palestinians who had sided with Saddam Hussein. So the idea that anyone in the Middle East is deeply interested in the establishment...
Yikes. That is an unbelievably bullshit statement. I've never heard that in my entire life. The reason why, I believe it was 200,000 Palestinians were expelled from Kuwait, it wasn't because the Palestinians sided with Saddam Hussein. I believe it was because that fucker Arafat publicly threw his lot in with Saddam Hussein. And then I think as a result of that, they expelled all of the Palestinians from Kuwait afterwards. It was a lot of them. Was it 200,000? I might make that. Hold on. Palestinian expulsion Kuwait. 357,000? How many left? Damn, it was hundreds of thousands of them. But I don't believe it was because... I don't believe it was because the Palestinians themselves sided with Saddam. It was because fucking Arafat did. But... why Arafat backed Saddam? What a stupid gamble. What a fucking idiot. He fucked his whole movement. He lost so much moral authority on this as well, I think. To throw his lot in with Saddam, who was invading Kuwait for bullshit reasons. But regardless, what a piece of shit.
Establishment of a Palestinian state is a lie made up by Westerners. And Middle East, in the aftermath of the Gulf War, Kuwait expelled tens of thousands of Palestinians who had sided with Saddam Hussein.
And it was hundreds of thousands, but okay.
So the idea that anyone in the Middle East is deeply interested in the establishment of a Palestinian state is a lie made up by Westerners. And Middle Eastern states have gone along with that lie because it's been a convenient way of shifting blame to Israel for their own internal failures and of prying concessions out of Westerners. But it was always a lie. And Donald Trump knows it's a lie. And that's why he has said repeatedly that the Saudis, the Egyptians, the Jordanians, they don't really care about a Palestinian state. That is a side quest.
The leaders don't really care at this point, but the people probably still do. Even if it's not explicitly a Palestinian state, the idea that all of them would just be expelled and kicked out of those lands, I don't think the people would be okay with that. But
other conventional wisdom, that the way that you upset the Arab Street is when you acknowledge reality. That if you acknowledge reality, the Arab Street will go wild. It will be gigantic war in the Middle East. The most obvious example of this being the that is a side quest. Other conventional wisdom, that the way that you upset the Arab Street is when you acknowledge reality. That if you acknowledge reality, the Arab Street will go wild. It will be gigantic war in the Middle East. The most obvious example of this being the conventional wisdom that if the United States actually moved its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, the eternal capital of Israel and the Jewish people, that if that were to happen, then the entire Middle East would go up in flames. And it turns out nothing happened. Nothing. Because that was a reality. And acknowledging reality on the ground is smarter than pretending reality away.
Embassy moved to Jerusalem, USA. The embassy opened at its Jerusalem location on May 14th, 2018. Palestinian border riots, Wikipedia. The Great March of Return started 30th of March, 2018. Crazy how close these were in time. Part of the reason why these border riots started, I believe, is because people were feeling increasingly desperate because it wasn't just the opening of this embassy in Jerusalem that was agreed to. I believe there were also discussions about removing funding from UNRWA as well. Donald Trump had made clear that he had incredibly strong support for Jerusalem, that they didn't give a fuck about any of the Palestinian issues. And part of this acknowledging the moving of the embassy to Jerusalem and super acknowledging the full city of Jerusalem as being part of Israeli territory definitely stoked tensions. I believe arguably was one of the things that was moving. Oh, it even says it here at the bottom here. The U.S. recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Part of the reason why recognizing Jerusalem as the capital was a big deal is because Jerusalem, it was a contested city, although I think at this point, or as of a while ago actually, I think Israel has formally annexed both sides of it and now some of the surrounding areas as well. But so to say that there were no repercussions from this, that's a clever rewriting of history, but okay, good job.
To Jerusalem, the eternal capital of Israel and the Jewish people, that if that were to happen, then the entire Middle East would go up in flames. And it turns out nothing happened. Nothing. Because that was a reality. And acknowledging reality on the ground is smarter than pretending reality away. Similarly, the conventional wisdom said that any move to acknowledge territorial sovereignty by Israel in disputed areas, like, for example, the Golan Heights, would end with further war. Wrong. Not only is that untrue, it is the reverse. When Israel has been able to defend territory, the world gets more peaceful, not less. The world will be more peaceful because Israel is currently occupying the other side of Mount Hermon in Syria rather than, for example...
No one cares about the Golan Heights and no one cares about Syria. Fuck Syria and fuck the Golan Heights.
HTS or Al-Qaeda. Other conventional wisdom. What the Palestinians really want is peace and a thriving democracy. There is zero evidence adduced to this idea. None. In fact, every single piece of evidence is precisely the contrary. The Palestinians, by every piece of polling data ever done, do not, in fact, support a thriving democracy. They do not, in fact, support a quote-unquote two-state solution. They do not support peace with Israel. In fact, their entire raison d'etre, the entire reason for the establishment of a Palestinian people, which was an agglomeration of a variety of people from different areas who over time accreted in British Mandate Palestine largely because of the upward economic trajectory created by Jews who'd been moving in. The entire raison d'etre was the disestablishment of a possible Jewish state there. So to give up that aspiration would be to recognize a thing that is unrecognizable for the vast majority of Palestinians. There is yet to be a single poll ever showing that Palestinians favor a two-state solution with Israel and the Palestinians living side by side. Yet the conventional wisdom likes to pretend that's not the case and then bang their head consistently against a wall and then yell at the Israelis for being so intransigent about not wanting to exterminate themselves. Donald Trump.
I mean, yeah, that's why you have to make the conditions and you have to make like a huge deal to do it. Like people also didn't think that Egypt would ever be able to sign peace with Israel, and yet it happened, or that any other state would be able to sign peace with Israel, but it has happened. So
Trump does not accept that conventional wisdom. He recognizes that Israel is not going away. Other conventional wisdom, that the Palestinians must never be allowed to leave a rubble-strewn, war-torn area even if they want to, because somehow it facilitates peace to keep would-be refugees in an unlivable situation for a decade, with no infrastructure, with no jobs, with no economy other than the trash foreign aid that has been used historically by terrorist groups to build terror tunnels and stock up on weaponry. That was the conventional wisdom. The conventional wisdom is that the best plan in the Gaza Strip was to pour billions of dollars into Hamas to facilitate humanitarian aid, which went directly to building terror tunnels. The only infrastructure built there, the only infrastructure that has been built there over the course of the last 15 years. And somehow the conventional wisdom...
That is an issue. Hamas is not good. The Gaza Strip stuff was not good. That is true.
...was give it more money, more air, make sure that there are more... Why do you think Egypt shut the border? Why do you think the Rafah crossing is closed? That is not because of the Jews. That is because of the Egyptians. Finally, the conventional wisdom says that you cannot facilitate population movement in this area. Now, I just have a question. Why is this the only area on earth where even if people want to leave, you can't facilitate population movement? Israel not only facilitated the population movement of Jews out of Gaza, it forced people who didn't want to leave out of Gaza in 2005. Literally took cities filled with 8,000 Jews and removed them forcibly with Israeli soldiers. It turned out...
Some Jews are super traumatized and ass pained by that, by the way. You might be one of them.
And according to the conventional wisdom, the only people who can be forcibly removed from a particular area in this particular area are Jews. And the people who certainly cannot be moved under any circumstances are Palestinians living between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. Those people can't move at all. It doesn't matter if Kuwait kicks them out, or Jordan kicks them out, or Lebanon kicks them out, or Egypt refuses to take them. It doesn't matter whether they live in refugee camps in Syria. None of that makes a difference. It doesn't matter if literally hundreds of thousands or even millions of people are forced out of Syria due to civil conflict. And so they end up in Turkey or even in Europe. That's all fine and dandy. But the minute...
I don't think any of that is fine and dandy, but okay. But also, Syrians have a state. This is such a disingenuous comparison. Syrians have a state. There's not a contention that if they leave, they're going to lose their state or the Syrian state's going to disappear. Whereas for the Palestinian issue, if enough of them leave, then they do lose their claim, and then Israel can just annex it, is the fear, right?
Anybody says that people who even want to leave the Gaza Strip because they don't wish to live in the rubble of Khan Yunis under the thumb of Hamas, then all of a sudden the conventional wisdom says, no. They must be forced to remain. Listen, what's happening in the Gaza Strip is a challenge, but you've got your own challenges if you are an employer. Research shows one of the biggest challenges, number one, you can equal opportunity or great ignored all of it myself. I visited the campus, great people, wonderful faculty. Go check them out, gcu.edu. Okay, here's the thing. Trump has ignored all this conventional wisdom because it's wrong and because it's stupid. And Donald Trump thinks outside the box. Here are Donald Trump's generalized premises when it comes to the Middle East. One, intractable problems are, wait for it, intractable, and they're not going away. And simply saying, like a mantra, two-state solution, democracy, living side by side, peace, doesn't make it magically happen. If you just say it over and over and over, not only does it not happen, it ends up facilitating the opposite, because it turns out that terrorist groups and radicalized populations take advantage of your naivete and your stupidity in order to build up their own weaponry so as to do things like October 7th. They make common cause with terror states like Iran. They make common cause with the Houthis and with Hezbollah. They do all of that because they understand Western weakness and Western stupidity. So failing to recognize intractable problems is dangerous. Recognizing intractable problems and not banging your head against the wall is actually a necessity. Recognizing that reality is how you get to things like the Abraham Accords. Other recognitions of reality. Israel is not going away, nor should it. And President Trump understands that. Underlying so much of the discussion over the past several decades has been this idea that if Israel just keeps giving up land and makes itself more and more unsafe, that magically peace will break out. Again, an idiotic idea. And underlying that is a baseline idea that if Israel disappeared, well, you know.
Why is it like why is it always the, and people think that if Jews just bend over, all of a sudden there'd be peace? Well, how fucking stupid. And people think that if Jews just fucking leave and run away, it's going to be, like, nobody is saying this, right? Like, when you summarize the opposition as being the most naive, dipshitted fucking people in the universe, then yeah, it's a really easy straw man to knock down. Like, it's just like constructing straw man after straw man after straw man. It's like, how stupid are these people? Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
Maybe the world would be a better way. Israel is not going to disappear. Israel's not going to go away. They're not going to surrender. They're not going to cut off their own heads. And after October 7th, they're certainly not going to allow the creation of a terror state in the heartland of the land that Israel currently is on. That is not a thing that's going to happen. Recognizing that reality is just reality. You can like it, you cannot like it. It's just the reality. And Trump plays in the world of reality. And finally, President Trump understands, again, that the conventional wisdom that all of this is central to the Middle East is wrong and a lie. He recognizes that it turns out Saudi Arabia has its own priorities that don't actually involve the Palestinians. Like, for example, economic development. That is the big priority of Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince. What he wants more than anything is a non-oil-based economy with a future. Because one of the things that's happened that's totally transformed the Middle East over the course of the last couple of decades is the fracking revolution in the United States, the complete revision of global oil dominance by the Middle East, so that actually the United States is a net exporter of LNG, has completely reshaped how the entire globe does energy. And so Mohammed bin Salman, who's sitting on a bunch of oil, is recognizing that technological developments mean that he must move along with the tech or he's going to lose out and his regime becomes unstable. Trump recognizes that. The same thing is true of UAE. The same thing is true, yes, even of Qatar, which is going to be made to come around. Okay, the reality is that people in the Middle East have interests that are completely disconnected and, in fact, antithetical to the interests of the terror state that a state of Palestine would be. So all of this is lead up to Trump's actual proposal. Because here's the thing. Everybody's saying, oh, it's so out of the box. It's so crazy. It's so wild. How could he? Because all of your ideas are stupid and failed. That is the reason. You wonder how we got here? The answer is we tried it your way, the conventional wisdom way, for 80 years. And not only is it a fail, it is one of the giantest fails in the history of foreign policy fails. That is how you end up with President Trump thinking outside the box. Now, I don't know.
I also love that he's like assuming that Trump knows about literally any of the fucking things he just said. I would give $1 billion to hear Trump speak on the fucking Israeli-Palestinian issue, but
whether President Trump's vision is going to come to fruition here, I don't know whether it's an opening gambit in a broader negotiation. And we'll get to all of that. What I do know is that all of the same conventional wisdom morons who said that the Abraham Accords would never happen were wrong. All those same conventional wisdom morons who said
were people saying this? Like, I don't think many people were speaking out again. Were they? I don't know. I don't remember. To be fair, I wasn't following Israel-Palestine closely then. But it's a bunch of countries that are already more or less fairly friendly with Israel and that who are all like in super opposition to Iran. And part of this was to prevent Israel from annexing even more and more of the West Bank. Like, I feel like the relations were already on their way to being pretty normalized. It's not like they took people who fucking hated Israel all of a sudden like, okay, we love Israel now. It was like
the Jerusalem embassy would set the entire Middle East on fire. We're wrong and stupid. All the same conventional wisdom dolts who suggested that pressuring Israel in the middle of a war was somehow going to result in more.
I think he means the people who said Israel needed to first solve Palestine problem before anyone would make peace. I mean, I still kind of agree with that. I mean, you can solve peace with as many people as you want, but as long as the Palestine problem exists, it's still going to fuck up everything in the Middle East, which I think is true. Jordan Peterson made a reply about Trump and tariffs and his 51-state trolling. The guy's Canadian, but is helping divide us. Yeah, Peterson's insane.
All the same conventional wisdom dolts who suggested that pressuring Israel in the middle of a war was somehow going to result in more peace rather than more war. They were wrong and stupid. So let the man cook. He did it better than you. He did it better than you, and he
hasn't done anything yet. What do you mean?
It better than you. Okay, so that brings us to the actual proposal. So President Trump yesterday did a press conference. At this press conference, he made the announcement that the United States would take over the Gaza Strip. Now, I don't know what this looks like in practicality, and President Trump didn't spell out any details. But the vision is basically that the United States, presumably getting security help from the Israelis, private contractors, and all of the rest, would essentially turn this into an investment area because it's border territory with the Med. The Mediterranean Sea is right there. This is all the same coastline as Tel Aviv. And so here's President Trump explaining his plan.
I also strongly believe that the Gaza Strip, which has been a symbol of death and destruction for so many decades and so bad for the people anywhere near it, and especially those who live there, and frankly, who's been really very unlucky. It's been very unlucky. It's been an unlucky place for a long time. Being in its presence just has not been good, and it should not go through.
I hope all the Palestinians get kicked out and Israel annexes it, because it would just be so much better and easier for my political career. Because then I could just become a full-time Israeli hater. it would remove one of the big fucking stumbling blocks, not stumbling blocks, but a big divide I have with other leftist commentators. I could just be a full-time Israel hater if they actually fucking fully ethnically cleanse the Gaza Strip.
Process of rebuilding and occupation by the same people that have really stood there and fought for it and lived there and died there and lived a miserable existence there. Instead, we should go to other countries of interest with humanitarian hearts, and there are many of them that want to do this, and build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza, ending the death and destruction and, frankly, bad luck. This could be paid for by neighboring countries of great wealth. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 12. It could be numerous sites, or it could be one large site. But the people will be able to live in comfort and peace, and we'll make sure something really spectacular is done. They're going to have peace. They're not going to be shot at and killed and destroyed like this civilization of wonderful people has had to endure. The only reason the Palestinians want to go back to Gaza is they have no alternative.
What percentage of Gazans would leave voluntarily if given a realistic alternative? I have my guess would be less than 10%, less than 5%. I'm not sure. That'd be my guess.
It's right now a demolition site. This is just a demolition site. Virtually every building is down. They're living under fallen concrete that's very dangerous and very precarious. They instead can occupy all of a beautiful area with homes and safety, and they can live out their lives in peace and harmony instead of having to go back and do it again. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site, and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. I'm hopeful that this ceasefire could be the beginning of a larger and more enduring peace that will end the bloodshed and killing once and for all.
Okay, so everybody who is against this, I have a question. What is your alternative? Seriously, I'd love to hear it. Alternatives, anyone. Maybe the alternative that will be put forward by the Arab states is, okay, we don't want this, so now we're going to go in and we'll volunteer to clean it up, in which case President Trump gets a win. But the alternative cannot be continued Hamas rule, because that is not going to happen. And just imagine for a second if, wait for it, President Trump was actually right, since he has been right on the Middle East many times before. Imagine if this actually became an economic development zone where there were, in fact, hotels, where there were, in fact, casinos, where there were houses and schools. I know, a crazy idea that a beautiful piece of beachfront property might actually be a beautiful piece of beachfront property as opposed to a giant terror hellhole. But is anyone else thinking differently about this? Because it turns out that you thinking the same way brought us here. You thinking the same way brought us here. Now, thinking differently might be a better idea, and that's true in your life as well. Now, when it comes to selling your car privately, it can be a giant headache. Endless negotiations.
Why do you think Israelis are required to keep terrorists next to them? Would you ever accept something similar here in the U.S.? Probably not, but it's a totally different set of circumstances. Why do you think Israelis are required to keep terrorists next to them? Because there's nothing else to do at the moment? I don't know. It's a complicated situation, my friend.
Tire kickers, paperwork hassles, but there's a better way to get your unused car off your hands. For 30 years, Cars for Kids has perfected the car donation process to make it truly effortless. They'll take your car in any condition, running or not, turn it into funds for kids in need, plus a tax deduction for you. It takes just 2 minutes on the phone or at carsforkids.org/men to donate. They'll take over from there. And trust me, outright, that's the extra ball already. Well, until then, over 38,000 businesses have found a way to future-proof their operations with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP. Imagine having market uncertainty in days. Partner with DApp's Suite.and for the Palestinians. And what he said is, listen, it's free to you at netsuite.com/Shapiro. That's netsuite.com/Shapiro. So he was asked about his plan for the Palestinians. And what he said is, listen, if you want to leave, you should be able to leave. And guess what? If you're a terror supporter, there's no reason you have a right to stay. So the plan is that if you want to go, you should be able to go elsewhere. And guess what? You know, this bizarre idea that people need to be trapped in this zone. There's polling data, by the way, showing.
I love that he mixes these two things up. Like, listen, if people really want to leave the Gaza Strip, then they probably should be allowed to. Now, that would be a question you'd probably have to take with the Arab League. But if they want to leave, sure. But this is a fundamentally different thing than fucking annexing all of Gaza or ethnically cleansing, 1.7, 1.8 million people out of there.
That a huge percentage of Palestinians, if they could get out, would want to. Here's
Wait, what? Citing what?
This zone. There's polling data, by the way, showing that a huge percentage of Palestinians, if they could get out, would want to. Here is President Trump saying, listen, population movement is the constant of human history. There's no right to live in a terror hellhole, backing Hamas, building terror tunnels, and basically driving millions of people into despair, poverty, and death. There's no right to that. And if people want to live there, they can live there. And if they don't want to live there, they can't live there. But there's going to be a rebuilding time. So let's get real about this. Caitlin Collins was very upset about this because, again, conventional wisdom is you have to keep millions of people suffering in an area dominated by terrorism so that what? A terror state can be built and threaten its neighbors? Here's President Trump saying, no, I have a different idea.
To follow up on what you were saying about the Gazans leaving Gaza, going to other countries, one, where exactly are you suggesting that they should go? And two, are you saying they should return after it's rebuilt? And if not, who do you envision living there?
I envision...
We are actually at ethnic cleansing at that point, no? Yeah, of course. Yeah, 100%.
The world, people living there, the world's people. I think you'll make that into an international, unbelievable place. I think the potential in the Gaza Strip is unbelievable. And I think the entire world, representatives from all over the world will be there, and they'll live there. Palestinians also. Palestinians will live there. Many people will live there. But they've tried the other, and they've tried it for decades and decades and decades. It's not going to work. It didn't work. It will never work. And you have to learn from history. History is, just can't let it keep repeating itself. Isn't
this unironically similar to Dicey's solution a couple of years ago, saying the only way that the conflict would effectively end is nuking either population? That was me jokingly saying that, it seems like neither side wants to make an actual, sacrifice to agree with peace on the other side. I mean, this does end the issue. That is true. Well, at least in the Gaza Strip, it would end the problem, sure. But at what cost? If Israel loses all of the credibility that it's established with its Arab leaders in its neighboring states, is that worth it? Probably not.
So we have an opportunity to do something that could be phenomenal. And I don't want to be cute. I don't want to be a wise guy. But the Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so bad.
Where do those people go in the meantime, Mr. President?
But more importantly than that is the people that have been absolutely destroyed that live there now can live in peace in a much better situation because they're living in hell. And those people will now be able to live in peace. We'll make sure that it's done world class. It'll be wonderful for the people. Palestinians mostly we're talking about. And I have a feeling that despite them saying...
Tiny does need to learn how to make joking statements without both haters and fans thinking he's serious for years after it. I can't control clips. If you watch my statement, it's obvious that I'm joking. I'm pretty sure I literally say afterwards where I'm if somebody linked the genocide thing. I'm pretty sure I literally say right after, yeah, I mean, it seems like neither side wants to do anything and link it.
No, I have a feeling that the king in Jordan and that the general president, but that the general in Egypt will open their hearts and will give us the kind of land that we need to get this done.
Hassan always talks about Asmagol, what is Destiny saying? Really? I feel like I never see clips of them going back and forth at each other. Does nobody clip it or?
But that the general in Egypt will open their hearts and will give us the kind of land that we need to get this done and people can live in harmony and in peace.
Again, what is your alternative? You got one? Let's hear it. President Trump was asked about resettling 1.7 million people.
You've said a few times that you didn't know whether or not ethnic cleansing is always bad. Sure, that's true. In this situation, it would probably be bad. If people are making like a huge agreement to move from one place to another, or if it's the end of like a war and there's like territorial changes or whatever, then I mean, like that's a different conversation. But this would literally just be at the end of this, like millions of people being told you're never allowed back here by. Like, I think this would be a bad, probably bad.
How many people are you thinking about? All of them. I mean, we're talking about probably 1.7 million people, 1.7 million, maybe 1.8 million. But I think all of them. I think they'll be resettled in areas where they can live a beautiful life and not be worried about dying every day.
Okay, now, I have a question. Is it more humanitarian to keep people in rubble? Is that the humanitarian thing to do? To keep them in rubble and poverty with no workable economy? Because guess what? Israel is not allowing work visas from the Gaza Strip. That is not a thing that is going to happen under current situations or any time in the future, so long as the status quo ante is returned to. So what exactly is the alternative plan? All the people who are, oh my God, how? Let them cook. Let them cook. President Trump says, listen, we'll make it nice for people to live elsewhere. Why would they want to live in hell? Exactly.
Would Palestinians have the right to return to Gaza if they left while the rebuilding was happening?
It would be my hope that we could do something really nice, really good, where they wouldn't want to return. Why would they want to return? The place has been hell. It's been one of the meanest, toughest places on earth. If we can build something for them and...
Like, it's such a stupid, like, why did Israelis want to go to fucking Israel? Well, before they were Israelis. Why did Jews want to go there? What a shitty fucking piece of land. It's actually trash land. There's nothing there good. The fuck? Well, it's because they view it as their home. What do you mean? What a stupid question.
It's been one of the meanest, toughest places on earth. If we can build something for them and...
Blue John, listen, I love you and I appreciate all your emails, okay? But you are super pro-Zionist. You're like very like far right on this. Don't you think it's strange the only solutions the West have favored in the past include ethnically cleansing Jews from Gaza and the West Bank, but once voluntary relocation is brought about, Palestinians, everyone is immediately against it? Bro, this is not voluntary relocation. This is about relocating 90% of the population after obliterating their fucking place where they live. What the fuck?
One of the countries, and it could be Jordan, it could be Egypt, it could be other countries, and you could build 4 or 5 or 6 areas. It doesn't have to be one area, but you take certain areas and you build really good quality housing, like a beautiful town, like someplace where they can live and not die.
Okay, again, the question would be the alternative. What is the conventional wisdom's been tried for 80 years, gang? And guess what? It has ended in nothing but death, despair, war, terrorism, the training of young kids to become future terrorists. That's what it has ended in. Okay, so President Trump says, what's the United States' role in all this? Well, I see a long-term ownership position, is what President Trump has to say. Now, again, there are a lot of details that have to be filled in. There has to be a plan that's filled in. And again, this could be a negotiating gambit in order to get the Arab states...
Negotiating gambit?
...it's to actually say, we don't want what Trump is talking about, so we are going to get involved in the rebuilding and guarantee the security of the Gaza Strip. Now, this could be a lot of different things. What it isn't is the conventional things that have already been tried and have failed 100,000 times over the course of the years. I saw a tweet last night from one of these conventional wisdom fools saying, well, why don't we just say that the people in Gaza get to stay in Gaza and live side by side in peace with the Israelis? Oh, I don't know. Maybe reality intervened. Maybe reality should at some point clock people in the head. It turns out it clocked the Israelis in the head on October 7th. And here is President Trump talking. This could be in order to get the Arab states to actually say we don't is the conventional things that have already been tried and have failed 100,000 times that the people in Gaza get to stay in Gaza. I saw a tweet last night from one of these conventional wisdom fools saying, well, why don't we just say that the people in Gaza get to stay in Gaza and live side by side in peace with the Israelis? Oh, I don't know. Maybe reality intervened.
You know, up until like 2005, I should say up until 2000, up until the Second Intifada, like Israelis and Palestinians did actually live side by side in the Gaza Strip. And they were even like friendly with each other, believe it or not. Like if you go to Israel today, you talk to older people, people that live anywhere. I keep forgetting this country is like a 2-hour drive from side to side. Like people would go to the Gaza Strip. They had beautiful beaches. You could go and shop, buy shit from Arabs when all the Jewish fucking losers have everything closed on Shabbat. Like people went there. It was okay. Like
maybe reality should at some point clock people in the head. It turns out it clocked the Israelis in the head on October 7th. And here is President Trump talking about his plans.
You are talking tonight about the United States taking over a sovereign territory.
Here's the clip. Oh, this was the one that went uber viral. Honestly, I'm pro-genocide. Like, it sounds really shitty, but like I think that Israel should just draw its fucking borders about where it is now, and basically Palestinians can go live in another place. That's really shitty, but like that's about right.
You just think of Palestine to just pack up and Native American the fuck out of there?
The problem is that it seems like there is a hugely general hostility to Jewish people across really the entire world, definitely the Middle East. Honestly, I'm pro-genocide. Like, it sounds really shitty, but like, I think that Israel should just drop its fucking borders about where it is now, and basically Palestinians can go live in another place. That's really shitty, but like, that's about where I'm at.
You just think that Palestine should just pack up and Native American the fuck out of there?
The problem is that it seems like there is a hugely general hostility to Jewish people across really the entire world, definitely the Middle East. So the problem is that as you weaken Israel's like ability for Jewish people to live there, it seems like because there's a lot of different organizations across the Middle East that are highly invested in the destruction of Israel. So that's like a really rough thing too. So it seems like if Israel is forced to make concessions to Palestinians, it threatens Jewish people's ability to have a homeland. And so I don't know. It's really shit. Truthfully, the answer is like there's no good answer. It's hard. It's hard. It's a really complicated situation.
Well,
it seems like appeasing either end basically means like kind of the destruction of the other end. If you give Jewish people what they want, Palestinians are essentially permanently cocked out of what they feel is their rightful homeland. And if you give Palestinians what they want, then probably a lot of Jewish people are going to die. But,
that's true.
Like, if you want to attack me for this answer, then fine. It's just so cringe to be like, oh, he wants to kill all Palestinians. Like, that's not, like, it's just stupid. Whatever.
Territory. What authority would allow you to do that? Are you talking about a permanent occupation there, redevelopment? And Mr. Prime Minister, do you see this idea as a way to expand the boundaries of Israel and to have a longer peace, even though the Israeli people know how important that land is to you and your citizens, just as the space is inherited by the Palestinians as well?
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East and everybody.
Well, you don't do yourself any favors, LeMayo, at Destiny. Not like you couldn't be more careful saying these things. Fuck you. Tell people not to clip a fucking 20-second thing that is intentionally clipping me out of context. That's so fucking cringe. No, I'm not going to say... I already overqualify the fuck out of everything I say. I'm not going to do there's a billion other people you can watch if you want somebody who's, like, insanely careful, thinking every single second what could ever possibly be clipped and saying everything in the most, like, PR-friendly way. It's fucking boring cringe.
I've spoken to, this was not a decision made lightly. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs.
What is the context out of context? The context is that if you listen to this clip and you think, oh, Destiny is pro-genocide, the context is, no, I'm not pro-genocide. What I says is it feels like the conflict is intractable because neither side is willing to make the appropriate concession to appease the other side, and the other side won't make a concession that is going to make it so that both sides are like can survive in whatever negotiated peace they have. That's the context of the statement. Like, if you come away from the first, I could see how somebody can come away from the first clip thinking like, oh, he thinks that Israel should genocide the Palestinians, but that's not obviously that's not my actual position. And if you listen for like 30 seconds longer, it's pretty obvious it's not my actual position, unless you're a retard.
Jobs with something that will be magnificent in a really magnificent area that nobody would know. Nobody can look because all they see is death and destruction and rubble and demolished buildings falling all over. It's just a terrible.
Oh yeah, that too. Another irritating thing too is that opinion was before October 7th even happened. I didn't even have like a huge like. Actually, I'm really surprised I even gave an opinion that was that that was that back and forth. Yeah, but people like to present this as though like this was my post October 7th. Like the way that clip is presented is October 7th happened and then Destiny said all the Palestinians should be genocided. Like that was his response to it too. It was so fucking stupid. Destiny, why are people on the left so obsessed and cucked with how their words are going to be perceived by bad actors? No, it's not. That's not even the issue that's going on here. This is just like an intentionally malicious clip to try to make me sound unhinged because they can't deal with any of the actual arguments because they're either ignorant or bad faith actors.
Terrible sight. I've studied it. I've studied this very closely over a lot of months, and I've seen it from every different angle. And it's a very, very dangerous place to be, and it's only going to get worse. And I think this is an idea that's gotten tremendous, and I'm talking about from the highest level of leadership, gotten tremendous praise. And if the United States can help to bring stability and peace in the Middle East, we'll do that. Bibi?
I mentioned again tonight our 3 goals, and the third goal is to make sure that Gaza never poses a threat to Israel again. President Trump has been so many into this.
Just to me.
And it's worthwhile.
This guy should just go to the U.S. and buy fucking 10 lottery tickets, bro. Oh my God. Netanyahu's so lucky.
Really pursuing this avenue.
Again, it is hilarious to me that Trump says, I want to turn this area into a thriving center of commerce. I want to turn it into a Riviera on the Middle East. And people are saying, how could you be so cruel to the Palestinians? Your alternatives, please. Your conventional wisdom. I'm just going to say it over and over and over because it's true. It's true. You keep saying the same thing over and over and over like a fool or a madman. And then nothing changes. The place keeps being a terror-ridden hellhole. And your response to the possible changing of that area into something that could actually be good is that you're upset about it in some way? That's your first response? I have a feeling that maybe you might have a slightly different agenda. Hey, President Trump made some other announcements at this press conference. He announced that the United States would be ending its support for the awful and evil UN Human Rights Council.
How can he be in the U.S. without being arrested? Did they actually formally issue those arrest warrants? Regardless if they did or didn't, the United States is not party to the International Criminal Court, to the Rome Statute.
And the UN Refugee Works Agency, which is a corrupt tool of Hamas.
I ended the last administration's de facto arms embargo on over $1 billion in military assistance for Israel. And I'm also pleased to announce that this afternoon, the United States withdrew from the anti-Semitic UN Human Rights Council and ended all of the support for the UN Relief and Works Agency, which funneled money to Hamas and which was very disloyal to humanity. Today, I also took action to restore a maximum pressure policy on the Iranian regime, and we will once again enforce the most aggressive possible sanctions, drive Iranian oil exports to zero, and diminish the regime's capacity to fund terror throughout the region and throughout the world.
Okay, so, again, this is correct. Now, the conventional wisdom that you have to keep funding evil institutions to do evil things with American taxpayer dollars is pretty incredible. President Trump also had some comments about getting the rest of the hostages out. What he said is, listen, Hamas should move on to a phase 2 here because what's going to come if they don't is not going to be pleasant.
Does Destiny disagree with its bad optics, or does he just not care? Doesn't have to if he can live with what comes from it. My issue is not that it... Here's my issue. Listen, if it was bad optics to make a statement, that would be one thing. But my statement wasn't bad optics. The bad optics was somebody who intentionally cut a 30-second clip from a conversation and then published it as though it was a response to October 7th. That's the thing that is not, that's not what I do. I can try to design all of my content in such a way that I could never be maliciously clipped like that. But like, what the fuck? I'm not even dealing with a good faith person who's clipping me at that point. Why would I try to design my words around a person who's clipping me to try to make me sound as unhinged as possible? That's retarded. If it was just but was your statement on a pro-ethnic cleansing take? No, I think it was just an acknowledgement that the situation seems really fucked, and unless like one side does something crazy, it seems like it's intractable. But also, this was my pre-October 7th. I didn't even know that much about fucking Israel-Palestine like when I made this statement. So to take this and parade this around as though this is like my very educated and fleshed out position on and what the response should be October 7th, all of this is bad faith. I don't even know why I'm explaining it. This is so obvious. Like rope.
We're working very hard to get all the hostages. The word is all, and we are working very hard. So far, it's been moving along fairly rapidly, pretty much on schedule. I'd love to have them all out at one time, but we're taking them out, and tomorrow more are being released, and over the days more, and then we'll go into a phase 2. But we'd like to get all of the hostages, and if we don't, it will just make us somewhat more violent. I will tell you that, because they would have broken their word.
And the meeting between President Trump and Netanyahu and the entire team was, of course, very warm. President Trump shouted out other members of his administration in the middle of this press conference, pointing out the solidity of his administration in pursuit of these new ideas.
J.D. Vance, everybody. J.D., please, Vice President, stand up. He's been doing a good job. He's been working very hard on all things, but this in particular.
Okay, perhaps the funniest moment came when President Trump was asked at this press conference a question by a female Afghani reporter who apparently wanted him to recognize the Taliban or something, and it didn't go amazing for her.
Go ahead.
Expectation from you. Do you have any plan to...
Destiny says that he's pro-genocide word for word. Shadow says, maybe you should not say something like that if you don't want people to think you're pro-genocide. Destiny, sorry, I don't infinitely qualify every single word like say blah, blah, blah. Dog, I don't think avoiding the words I am pro-genocide is asking you to go out of the way to never possibly be clipped out of context, but avoiding obvious instances where you're begging to be clipped out of context. That's, first of all, this is not an obvious instance because nobody was talking about Israel-Palestine. It was prior to October 7th. Nobody was talking about Israel-Palestine at all. It wasn't a thing that anybody was talking about. I didn't know October 7th terrorist attack was going to fucking happen. I bet I've probably made jokes about about a million things where tomorrow there could be like a crazy terrorist attack. And I'm like, oh, fuck me. Like I shouldn't have, well, now that joke sounds really bad, I guess. Number one. Number two. So there are no more ironic jokes, no more satire, no more sarcasm, no more irony. I'm just never going to say anything sarcastic or ironic ever again. Is that like, come on, bro. I'm getting trolled. Never mind, I am. Okay, we're getting trolled. That's good. I see the troll.
Change Afghanistan situation. Are you able to recognize Taliban? Because I'm an Afghan journalist, Afghan separate woman. Any comment about Afghanistan? What's your future plan for Afghan people, especially Afghan?
I have a little hard time understanding you. Where are you from? Actually, it's a beautiful voice and a beautiful accent.
You said the words, I am pro-genocide. You were begging to be clipped out of context. I understand that you weren't expecting your IP takes to be put on a running show, but I think that was avoidable. Okay, baby Dave. I will never make a sarcastic comment ever again, okay? I only speak from the genuine bottom of my heart. No more sarcasm, no more irony ever, okay? Never again, okay? Thank you.
The only problem is I can't understand a word you're saying. But I just say this, good luck, live in peace. Go ahead,
please. I'm sorry. The man, he's a funny man. He's a very, very funny man. Well, in a second, we'll get to President Trump's Iran policy, which he also announced yesterday, and it is a return to the maximum containment, maximum pressure campaign against the Iranian terrorist state. First, no matter where you are watching or listening right now, take a second and hit that follow button. It doesn't cost you anything. It makes a huge difference in fighting back against the algorithm that really, really doesn't want you to hear the show. If you want the full show, uncensored, uninterrupted.
Really? Is that true? The algorithm is fighting against you?
Unshackled in the culture shaping. Meanwhile, President Trump did an hilariously offensive box office hit. Am I racist? Go to dailywire.com/subscribe now and join the fight. Meanwhile, President Trump did announce yesterday an executive order cracking down on Iran. He said he doesn't want war with Iran. He's not interested in a military strike if one can be avoided. But he's putting significant pressure on Iran, maximum pressure on the government of Iran to deny all of their paths to a nuclear weapon. And President Trump was asked in the Oval Office while signing this executive order, Mr. President, there's a lot of talk about Iran trying to assassinate you. What would happen if that happened?
If it's Iran and their proxies who have threatened to retaliate against you and your team by killing you guys for taking out so long.
Well, they haven't done that, and that would be a terrible thing for them to do. Not because of me. If they did that, they would be obliterated. That'd be the end. I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left.
According to this brand new executive order from the White House, the Iranian government, including the IRGC, is using agents and cyber-enabled means to target United States nationals living in the United States and other countries around the world for attacks, including assault, kidnapping, and murder. Iran has also directed its proxy groups, including Hezbollah's Islamic Jihad organization, to embed sleeper cells in the homeland to be activated in support of this terrorist activity. Iran bears responsibility for the horrific Hamas massacres committed on October 7th, 2023, and bears responsibility for continued Houthi attacks against the United States Navy, allied navies, and international commercial shipping in the Red Sea. Since April 2024, the regime has twice demonstrated its willingness to launch ballistic and cruise missile attacks against the state of Israel. Iran commits grievous human rights abuses and arbitrarily detains foreigners, including U.S. citizens, on spurious charges without due process of law, subjecting them to abuse. The United States stands with the women of Iran who face daily abuse by the regime. Iran's nuclear program, including its enrichment and reprocessing related capabilities and nuclear-capable missiles, pose an existential danger to the United States and the entire civilized world. It is therefore in the national interest to impose maximum pressure on the Iranian regime to end its nuclear threat, curtail its ballistic missile program, and stop its support for terrorist groups. So maximum pressure is back on the Iranian regime. Now, at this point, I'd like to point out, President Trump is no one's tool. There are a lot of people out there. Many of them don't like Israel. Many of them don't like Jews, who seem to think that President Trump is a mirror of their ideology. There are isolationists who like to think that. There are interventionists who like to think that. There are a lot of people who like to think that President Trump is simply an avatar for their particular philosophy. As I've said many, many times, President Trump is an avatar of no one's philosophy. President Trump does not have a thoroughgoing ideology. President Trump is about winning. He's about utilitarian wins.
He almost had it there, but then he...
Philosophy. President Trump does not have a thoroughgoing ideology. President Trump is about winning. He's about utilitarian wins. That is what he does. And that means he's going to do things that many people don't like. From time to time, as you've noticed, he does things that I don't like. But the reality is that it's his outside-the-box thinking that makes things possible. It makes things possible. So I don't know where this proposal is going to go. You don't know either. It could be a negotiating tactic. It could be the opening of a bargaining session with the Saudis. It could be an attempt to put pressure on the Iranians. It could be an attempt to get the hostages out. Or it could be face value, an attempt to actually do something extraordinary with a hellhole that has been turned into a hellhole by the population that decided to elect Hamas and the Hamas government that decided to turn it into a terrorist haven. And that, maybe it's that.
Like what? Like, dude. They all deserve each other. The Israelis and the Palestinians. If any two groups of people on the planet deserved each other, it's these two groups of people. Arguing with any of these people is fucking exhausting. The super far right fucking Zionists are like, oh, I don't know why all these Palestinians are so fucking mad. And then the Palestinians are like, well, I don't know why these fucking Jews think we're gonna fucking kill them as they sharpen their knives. Like it's just like the most autistic one-sided fucking. And it's even worse when it's diasporaids making the argument because they don't even have any real stake in it, right? Israel get nuked tomorrow, and the diasporaid over here would be totally fucking fine because it's not gonna affect them at all. I hate all these people.
We don't know yet. But bottom line, as I said right at the top, let Donald J. Trump cook. And meanwhile, your quick update on President Trump's nominees. They are getting through it.
Seeing how quickly Israel jumped at the opportunity to kick Palestinians out, do you think this outcome gives legitimacy to critics of Israel who've been saying for the past year that this is always the goal since they made the region basically uninhabitable? Absolutely not. Number one, I don't even think Israel has jumped at that opportunity. I don't know if Israel is even going to agree with this because Benjamin Netanyahu was literally saying that I think he said he wouldn't go as far as what Trump was saying. I don't know if somebody can link me if that's. I don't think Israel has endorsed any mass deportation of Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. Number one. Number two, Israel is always constrained by the political and military realities at the time, and I just don't think it's a reality for them to expel 2 million people from the Gaza Strip.
At a staggering rate, Pam Bondi is your new attorney general. She was, in fact, confirmed yesterday. Meanwhile, RFK Jr. has been moved out of committee. There's a lot of question about whether he was going to make it out of committee for Health and Human Services Secretary. But last-minute lobbying from the White House has put him on a glide path to his actual job as the head of HHS. Meanwhile, Tulsi Gabbard also made it through committee with help from Senator Tom Cotton, who, of course, is quite hawkish on the Senate Intelligence Committee. So it looks as though President Trump is going to get his cabinet. The 3 candidates who are the most likely to go down were Gabbard.
You don't think Bibi supports the expulsion of Palestinians? I don't think it's politically feasible. I mean, if he could do it, if he could snap his fingers and have it happen in a way where he doesn't lose all of his support or whatever, and I mean, I'm sure he would do it for sure, but I just don't think it's like politically feasible, my feeling, but.
Secret Service is worried about them? If we have to worry about them, we have big problems. Okay, do you want to do this? Watch what I do, and then I'm going to give you some pens, okay? You ready? What a nice picture this is, huh, Governor? You ready? We'll do a good job. Wait, let me press that. I want to make this a really good signature because this is, this is a big one, right?
So Trump is just talking shit. You don't think he'll actually kick out the Palestinians? I have no idea. Don't ask me what he'll actually do. You want me to predict anything this fucking lunatic will do? I have no idea. We might invade the Gaza Strip tomorrow and start killing Israelis. I have no fucking idea whatsoever.
And for the same reason, just to make sure, I'm also directing our Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, who's also she's out there with you, Greg, a fantastic job. She's unbelievable. I was watching her riding yesterday on a horse. She was as good as anybody. She's very good. To deny any and all visa applications made by men attempting to fraudulently enter the United States while identifying themselves as women athletes to try and get into the games, maybe where they
huge issues going on right now. Huge issues.
And for the same reason.
Put yourself in EU Chad's shoes. What would you do if you saw Trump seize power like this? I want to believe in the alliance, but what the fuck? The problem is that, you know what? Oh my God, this just popped into my head. I don't know if this applies at all. I don't even know why this connected in my head. I don't know if this is true. The concept is true enough that I want to believe in it, okay? Maybe because we looked over some of these interviews yesterday, that Dr. Mordecai Kadar guy said that one thing that Arabs would do is if they had wealthy families that were running things, one of the issues you run into is you want to play favorites with family members, right? I think this might have been in connection with, in the UAE, the family there, whatever, put like a non-family member in charge of fucking oil export. I don't remember what the specifics were. But basically that, like, if you're, like, let's say that you are a brother in a family and you've got, like, 3 other brothers or whatever, and I don't know why I drew sticks here. When it comes time to appointing people to different organizations, it can be tricky because you've got family members who are thinking they deserve it more or don't, and you've got to, like, pick favorites, and now you're, like, fucked. And one of the things that helped them, or that would help Arabs in these types of, like, tribal arrangements or familial arrangements, is appointing somebody who either had equal relation with both, so they were like cousins or second cousins, or that weren't related to either, and then allowing those people to make the decisions. Because now they can say, well, look, it's a non-family member, he's doing it, he's the one making the decisions, it's not like we're choosing or playing favorites here. One of the things that I wonder when it comes to Europe is having the United States being kind of like the boss is nice, because it's like the U.S. We're over here, we're kind of like on equal footing with everybody, it's whatever. It's the U.S. We're across the ocean. Who knows? I was going to respond to your question because you said, what should the EU do? And I'm saying, well, the European Union should just grow really strong and, figure out what they want to do. But I don't know what the balance of power looks like in the European Union without the United States being present at all in European life. I understand the U.S. is not part of the European Union. But, like, if it was the fact that the U.S. is just, like, completely withdrawing from European politic, then do European countries kind of have to, like, implicitly acknowledge that, like, okay, I guess Germany is our boss now, or that, I don't know what that actually looks like. Especially when you already have countries like France, I think, who historically don't even like even following NATO, I think, in lockstep. I don't know what it looks like to have a European Union that's trying to do its own thing without any U.S. guidance, because it feels like, this is a vibe I have, I could be totally wrong, but it feels like there are too many European countries that feel like, well, I should be in charge, right? Like, would the UK come back, or is France really going to take orders from another country, or do Spain and Germany feel like I don't know. I just don't know what that looks like. I have no idea. I don't know. Like, I feel like there's already a decent amount of Euro or EU skepticism that exists from the far left and the right parties in Europe. I don't know if Europe ever regains its balance without any type of United States moral leadership, I guess. I don't know. Honey baby. Okay.
Why did Sauron?
We'll watch that in a second. I'm curious.
Assalamu alaikum. And peace be with you. What is Jerusalem worth? Nothing. Everything.
Why? Okay. Destiny, being optimistic, European cooperation will be more important than any one country taking power. Yeah, but I feel like isn't EU skepticism already like at a fucking fever pitch? Like, isn't it already very high? Wasn't there almost another country that was kind of considering leaving? I don't remember if it was... I feel like I remember reading about this like a year ago. So I hope some people are saying no, not really. No, not like that, bro. Don't give me those sexy eyes. Honey, why? No. Chill. Stop. Just. He has to be like. What is the resolution of a fucking iPhone camera? Jesus Christ. But he feels like he has to be like on everything. Why?